So as Carol, you can just join us on stage. The rest of the speakers who gave flash talks and also our keynote, Liad, can you come up to the front of the podium? We're going to spend about 10 minutes now, 10-15 minutes, having a panel presentation, and then we're going to go and take a break. We're going to come back from that break at 11. So we're going to do a little shimmy of the schedule. So just about 10 to 15 minutes here. We'll take a break at 10:50. We'll come back at 11. So we have a number of questions that you might have for panelists. This is a unique opportunity to talk about the intersection of consumer choice and energy, food, and clothing. So let's think about what you've heard. The microphones should all be on. Just something? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So what questions do people have for our panelists about what we've heard?
I think Michael knows this. My name is Hugh Schmidt, and Mike is going to know this question is for him. Question is, how does the perception of risk versus sustainability affect nuclear generation after the natural gas bubble subsides?
I heard risk and sustainability, but you got to say it, the rest.
Okay, the question is, how does the perception of risk versus sustainability affect the future of nuclear generation after the natural gas bubble subsides?
Well, you're asking a U.S.-centric question, all right?
Yes.
So the international response to that is that we are an island of cheap gas in a world of very expensive gas, and that means that you see other nations doing something totally different. China, India, Russia, Brazil have a totally different view on where their future lies. So I'd leave it that way. We're talking about consumers here, so I've got to get back to how people behave. And a theme I saw, so I'm going to use you just to mention. The theme I saw is that cost matters. People respond to cost or to price. And to me, again, just the engineer in me, we have to come back to that. If we really value things and want to make them sustainable, then you've got to essentially reflect it in some sort of cost of doing something different. So I stop.
My name is Dave Barbier. So this question is directly for Ralph. I'm the sustainability coordinator at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. We've had a variety of sort of community-based events, and the community has a variety of consignment shops within it, but I've had a really hard time getting folks from that industry to come participate in what we're doing from a sustainability perspective. And so I'm wondering if you have advice about how to talk to those, purveyors about making that connection, because at least in my experience so far, it's been really hard for them to sort of see how it is, what it is that they're doing connects to sustainability. And it seems like you've got a great grasp on that. So I'm wondering, how do I relay that to them?
Sure. And up in your area, you have a lot of more mom and pop sort of people that are really focused on the direct reuse. They may not even have good channels to that third level of recycling, because it takes a certain infrastructure to move that through and on. Your Goodwill up there in Stevens Point is probably your best chance. We don't have a strong presence there, but Goodwill at St. Vincent de Paul on the bigger levels, they understand these sort of things. And it means developing relationships all the way down the stream, and some of those smaller places haven't developed those relationships.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here, driving from Stevens Point. Other questions for our panelists? We need to get you on mic just because we're taping for later.
I'm Joanne Orevic from the University of Wisconsin at Whitewater. I'd like to ask about online education and also telecommuting. It used to be the mantra that the internet would make most of the everyday commuting we would be doing to campus irrelevant, and we could come in if we'd like, but we'd be doing most of our work from home. And I'm wondering as well about online education. We seem to be building more and more high-rises around campus and providing for more student housing, but we're living in an era where a number of programs are almost entirely online. And I'm wondering what the future, next 5 years or so, will be writing in terms of those trends.
Thank you. So anyone can talk about online learning, teaching, etc.
Can I try one thing? We're right next to Went Library. I invite you, since you're here, across the way, go up to Went Library, look at the 3rd and 4th floor. The whole change in 4th floor, thank you. The whole change in education, at least on campus, is to, if you're going to be on campus, you want to have group learning in some sort of cooperative environment. So I'd invite you to see how we've just changed in the last 5 years just by going to the next building over.
But there's huge promise here. Is anyone, I mean, I know I'm involved with one of these MOOCs online, right, this climate and environment. Are you doing anything different to help make up some of this consumer choice that folks have in education and how education's delivered? Jed or Carol or Liad or Mike? Anything that you're doing different?
Another commercial. Alan Carroll from Geology is about to start a MOOC on geofuels. Okay, and my suggestion is follow that, because Alan's coming out with a book and also coming out with his first, I think, one of the 4 MOOC courses that the university is offering as part of our part of the partnership. And it's very interesting in terms of history, and but that's, I think, what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I'd just like to add quickly that UW-Madison right now is running 6 MOOCs this year. They are almost all sustainability themed in one way or another: climate, forests, the land ethic, and Aldo Leopold. And I will be talking about those a little bit more after the next session. Massive open online courses. They're open to anyone. They are streamed online through for UW-Madison through Coursera.
And that's Jill Zakai, who's our communications director in Office of Sustainability, doing her communication job. Well done. Liad.
A quick comment to follow on what you asked. So, we know that people are social animals, right? So, although it's possible to stay at home and just do, but I think people just want the experience, right? They want to get out of. So, I guess the combination would be probably where things will end up being, because some people at some situation would appreciate, not having to do the commute, but others would. So I guess if developing both options is probably where I would predict.
So it becomes part of a portfolio of options, not a main one or okay. Did you have a question?
Yes, my name is Spencer. I worked at St. Vincent de Paul the last 3 summers, and I know there's an abundance of clothes. And my question is, as a freshman, I have yet once been notified or advertised to buy from a thrift shop. So, because once you have all the materials, you just got to sell them. So what's your approach to kind of like branding yourself as a first option idea to more students?
Question.
Sure, we need to do more. We need to create that culture. You talked about the yuck factor, and one of the things that we're doing in our stores is we're going both directions, but a lot of them are trying to remove that yuck factor. We size the clothes, the environments look good, and we just need to get students out to them. Unfortunately, there are none right here on campus. It's expensive to locate right here on campus. But the other end is the dig and save, where we just try bulking it out, and where price is a concern, we try making as much as we can available at a Park Street location. So you're right, it is about getting, if no one's buying it and reusing it, it's moving on to the next phase, which is not reuse.
Well, you might have heard the launch of a new project. Why don't you open up a St. Vincent de Paul outlet here on campus? You guys might be able to work on something like that.
We've looked, and we'll keep looking.
Okay, we'll tee it up. You had another question, please?
Yes, I have a question for both Carol and Ralph. I am following up on the yuck factor. How do you overcome that? I mean, my family, we live near St. Vinny's, Willie Street. Awesome, thanks. And our family's sort of grown up with, like, that's where you go to find interesting things. But how do you get beyond that? And then sort of a side question, it's not related. Are there bins in the residence halls year-round for collection, or just when there's move-up?
So there's 2 questions. Let's take the yuck factor first, and then we'll do the year-round dorm question. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. One of the interesting things about the interviews was that the students, when we mentioned thrift shopping, they almost universally said, "Oh yeah, Macklemore," and I went finally to listen to the song, and my 12-year-old said, "No, Mom, you better not. There are cuss words in that song." But the combination of sort of acknowledging the yuck factor and saying, "But it's still cool. It's still okay." Somehow in that song, he seemed to have created a more positive look at thrift shopping. I don't know exactly how. Maybe just getting it out there, having people talk about it. I'm not sure. But the yuck factor was definitely still there for the students, whether they admitted it or not. They're like, "No, I don't buy. I just donate."
Thank you.
And we've tried to upgrade the looks of our stores. Some of it, too, it becomes hitting that balance of price and trying to move things out. But we also need to change the whole culture of that, and that takes a while. Some people like the value and only, too, and they aren't interested in it, so hitting the balance for both audiences is also tough. We also need to create an environment where we have sustainable employment, too. And I think a lot of the places that they've come from have thrift stores that have mostly been there to serve poor people, but not the balance. But they've also not invested in the looks of their place. They've not invested in the people they've hired. We try paying people fairly so they're not our clients, but that also ends up places that don't do that in other parts of the country really impact the culture.
So we've run out of time. Sorry we can't get to your second question. Maybe you can talk with them over our 10-minute break. It's now, at least on my watch, 10 till. We'll take a 10-minute break, come back here at 11 o'clock and start our next session. For those of you who are at break, there's break food in this room, and there'll be a video playing over break here on the screen. So let's thank the panelists one last time.